Super Mario Odyssey came out in October, which at this point is well over half a year ago, and at the time, Super Mario Odyssey DLC seemed pretty darn likely. We got DLC in Mario Kart, Splatoon 2 got DLC, and even games that wouldn't be the best candidates for DLC, like Zelda Breath of the Wild, ended up getting DLC in their games. And with a game as big as Super Mario Odyssey, the best-selling game on the Nintendo Switch, it would make sense that Nintendo would make DLC for it. I mean, it would really fit well, with new worlds and all. But at this point, is there still any chance of us getting DLC? And if we aren't, then why won't we? A good amount of people still talk about it like they expect it to happen. But at this point, I think it's pretty unlikely. Hey, you don't have to bring that up. Hello all 358 of you, I'm Redkwan, and this is why Super Mario Odyssey DLC isn't happening. So why isn't Super Mario Odyssey going to get DLC? It would certainly make Nintendo a good amount of cash. I mean, it is the best-selling game on the Switch after all. Well, for one, if it was getting DLC, it would have probably been announced already. Just about every game Nintendo has put DLC in had had an announcement for that DLC long before this point. And if there was any time to announce it, E3 would have been that. It's been since October, and they still haven't even teased any additional content. And if they were going to do it, they would have done it at E3. What'll be the next opportunity to announce things? The next real chance would be in a direct later this year, but it would probably be at least a couple months before anything like that would happen, which would be pushing a year on the release of the game. And even if they announced it at the next direct, which came out sooner than we would expect, it would still be a while before it would actually be available for people to get. Which means that by the time it would actually get released, the game would probably be well over a year old. That's pretty late to be putting out DLC. I'm not saying that nobody would buy it if it came out that late, and the fact that people are still talking about it happening shows there's still demand for it. But it probably would decrease sales to do it that late, and nobody really waits a year to even announce DLC. So it would make me think that it probably isn't coming. Another thing that makes me think it won't be coming is the nature of the game. From a gameplay standpoint, I think Mario fits better with DLC than games like Zelda. You can easily add extra worlds, extra costumes, or even just extra moons in each world. We did get Luigi's Balloon World too, so maybe Nintendo could add similar mini-games that people could pay to get. There are some good possibilities. With a story and adventure game like Zelda Breath of the Wild, DLC gets a little more complicated and might not fit all that well. So you would think that if they add DLC to Breath of the Wild, they would probably do that in Super Mario Odyssey. But there is another factor here. The chillin'. Mario is a game made for everyone. While Zelda and Splatoon are mostly geared toward people who are pretty into video games, Mario is played by everyone. Like I said, Mario is played by super young kids, people who don't really play video games much, and probably a dog somewhere. If you know one, I'd like to see this in action. And because a lot of people who play Mario Odyssey are probably people who don't understand or want to get involved in the whole concept of DLC, Nintendo might just have avoided it altogether, creating a more pure and simple experience. I'm just imagining some big brawls going down on the playground. Hey man, look at me playing in the French onion dip kingdom! What? There's no French onion dip kingdom. Think again, chump! I got that DLC! And then there's probably a brawl. So Nintendo might have just avoided the complexities of DLC for a game that is meant to have huge appeal to all people, even those outside the normal video game player demographic, and one that's supposed to be as approachable and accessible as possible. So if, like I think, we aren't getting any DLC for Super Mario Odyssey, then why aren't we? And what does that mean for Mario on the Switch? Well, I guess I sort of justified why we wouldn't get any when I was talking about chillin', but I think there's more to it than that. I think that if Nintendo isn't going to be adding anything else to Super Mario Odyssey, despite its massive success, acclaim, and potential, they're probably going to be making a sequel. When you have a game that's the best seller on the whole system, and you put it out in the first year, you might want to think about making another one. And Super Mario Odyssey has a ton of potential. I filled 2 videos with 5 ideas for DLC kingdoms each, and plenty of others have brought up some crazy ideas. And with a whole corporation, I'm sure they can brainstorm a dozen cool locations. So there are still tons of places the base gameplay can be taken, and I think a sequel might actually be a more effective way to do that, by being able to put a lot more ideas and get a lot more of that precious cash. Nintendo has done this before too, with the Super Mario Galaxy games. Just take Mario's movement and controls and make a bunch of new environments, and toss it in a box. It's that simple, so I don't think Super Mario Odyssey DLC is going to happen. It's been way too long of us just waiting, expecting, and then getting nothing. And because it didn't make an appearance at E3, I think it's pretty safe to guess it isn't going to be happening at all. The reason why might have to do some with the need to make Mario games accessible and fun for everyone, and not just the big video game players, but probably also indicates that a sequel is in the works, that they're going to be using all the best ideas for. So Super Mario Odyssey DLC probably isn't going to happen, but at least a sequel sounds pretty reasonable. Maybe I'm too hopeful again. Well, I'm Redkwan. What do you think about Super Mario Odyssey DLC? Pretty far-fetched at this point, right? Just say yes, I need a win in my life. Anyways, I'm Redkwan, thank you all for watching, and I'll hopefully see you all later. Goodbye.